All right, so we are at 6:01, respecting everyone's time. We will get started. Thank you so much for everyone attending this evening's session of Artwork, Social Media Marketing with Colleen Devine and Tanya Spears. My name is Dawn. I am your moderator for today's session. As we've been doing with our previous artwork sessions, we are recording the session and we will be sharing it with everyone who has registered, likely tomorrow after we've done all of the rendering. We will first start with our acknowledgement statement that our session is being streamed from Lethbridge, and we are situated on Treaty 7 territory. We are on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains, and we pay respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. We are also City of Lethbridge is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. I'm just trying to move my slide forward, and it's not wanting to go. Tech issues as soon as we start, folks. So we'll wait for the screen to move. As I mentioned, my name is Dawn. I am the Community Relations Manager with the Allied Arts Council. Also on the webinar, we have Tara Galanders. Tara is our Membership and Projects Manager, and we also have our guest, Colleen Devine, who's Communications Manager with the Allied Arts Council, and Tanya Spears, who is a local artist. You'll hear a little bit more about them in terms of a bio and from them in a little bit. If you haven't already done so, please introduce yourself in the chat box, everyone, and let us know what your art practice is so that we all know who you are and what it is that you do. I think most folks have already done that, so thank you. We would normally be on our agenda slide right now. Let me see if it's actually going to, oh, there we are. So we will do a little bit of housekeeping. There'll be an introduction by Tara. We'll go through the presentation. There will be time for questions at the end. So if you wouldn't mind entering your questions either in the Q&A or the chat module. And when we get to the end of the presentation, if you feel comfortable asking the question directly, we can turn on your microphone, or if you would just like to have your question asked, I can ask that. And then be sure that your question, when you type it, direct it to either Colleen or Tanya or both. And then we'll have a little bit of a closing. So we've already gone through this with the chat box and the questions, and I think that's it for me. So I'm now going to turn it over to Tara. And Tara, let me know when you want me to move the slide forward.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Tara Galanders, and I am the Projects and Membership Manager for the Allied Arts Council. I'm here at the Allied Arts Council office on 7th Street with one of our presenters tonight, Colleen Devine. I just want to hit you all up. If you're not members already, the Allied Arts Council is a member-based organization, and we really would love to have your support. Membership for artists is $25 a year, and it really helps us put on wonderful events like this for free, and also provides a lot of great opportunities for you throughout the year. So think about becoming a member of the Allied Arts Council and supporting us. We'd really appreciate that. I would just like to tell you a bit about Arts Days, which is coming up in a little over a month and a half. Arts Days this year is going to be September 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th. And we have some really amazing opportunities for artists. And these are all paid opportunities, everybody. So if you yourself aren't interested, please let other people who you might know who might be interested. So I'll just go through some of those opportunities right now. So one of them is the AAC Cabaret. This is normally something we do in sort of in real life, but unfortunately because of COVID, we are taking it online and we're going to be filming. So we're looking for 5 performing artists to perform for us, and we're going to put it together in a film, and it's going to go up on all our social media channels. So if you know of anybody who you think might be interested in that sort of opportunity, please let them know. We are also going to be renting space across the street from CASA for an AEC pop-up gallery. So we're looking for artists to apply for that. It's a very large space, so we're really encouraging lots of people to apply. It is a jury selection, but honestly, it's a big space. So if you're interested, again, a paid opportunity, this is something we're going to tie into a gallery stroll on the Saturday night, and we're really looking forward to that. There's going to be a big party out in Rotary Square as well, all socially distanced, of course. We're also doing on the street. We're putting buskers on the street or mainly in Rotary Square to perform, to provide performing artists an opportunity to perform. And then we are also looking for a single artist presently who could go into the kiosk on Rotary Square at CASA. It's an installation piece we're looking for. There's more information on our website. So if any of these sound interesting to you or people you might know, please get them to apply. We've been very fortunate with the grants we have received this summer. And so again, paid opportunities for a lot of artists, especially during these challenging times. So anyway, now I would like to go in and introduce our two wonderful presenters tonight. First of all is Colleen Devine. As many of you know, Colleen works for the Allied Arts Council. And I'm just going to read you her bio. Colleen is a techno-crafty artist, designer, and creative educator. She merges fiber, drawing, video, and media arts into hybrid forms with a long history of working with emerging technologies and social media, from BBS, D-Dials, early HTML websites, blogs, and vlogs. Colleen is a regular guest panelist, critic at fandom conventions, including the Calgary Entertainment Expo, Edmonton Entertainment Expo, and Geek Girl Con in Seattle. She is an active member of the Alberta Media Arts Community, the Lethbridge Arts Community, and is the marketing manager for the Allied Arts Council. And Colleen is currently creating a body of work about lady robots. I can hardly wait to see that. And our other artist tonight is going to be Tanya Spears. Tanya sent us this bio. Mama meets artist, or artist meets mama. Alberta born, small town girl doing the same thing she thought was impossible. Always exploring color, texture, and shape, and currently lives here in Lethbridge. Both Dawn and I are wearing Tanya's earrings tonight. I first met Tanya at the Lethbridge Farmers Market, and since then she's built an amazing business and is a superstar with her online social media presence. It's really helped her grow her business, and as well we sell Tanya's earrings at our store, AEC Work. So I'm going to pass it off now to Colleen so she can get us started for the night.
Welcome to our fancy camera work. Yeah, you can't get a webcam in Lethbridge for trying. So we share, socially distanced. I'm going to bring up my slide screen here. Go. And bring this up, mostly so that I don't have to look at my COVID hair. And we're going to talk a little bit about social media marketing today. This isn't, don't look at me like, sorry, Tara's giving me feedback. We're talking about social media marketing today, but not everything that I know. So we're doing 20 minutes with me and then with Tanya. But this is a big, big topic. It is a topic that's constantly changing. The minute you think you have it figured out, something changes, whether it's demographics or the program itself, nothing stays the same. And I think that's an important sort of thing to remember as we go forward. And of course, now the screen's not going. Advance the page, please. There. So one of the first things I'd like you to think about is like, who are you and why do you want to be on social media? And I think these are important questions to ask yourself. Do you need to be on social media? Why do you want on social media, and what are your goals? And I think that there's a lot, you have to kind of do your own social media audit when you're doing these things. You have to be thinking about the beginning and then where you want to get to. And if you're not, you're just going to sort of be taking shots in the dark. And that can be a lot of work, and it can also be sort of self-defeating, and it can also make you feel kind of crappy because social media has that ability, and we all want to avoid that. So I want you to think about your art practice and you as an artist going beyond being, you know, on social media as just a person, but more as a practice, a professional, a business. How you approach social media when you have that lens is really quite different. And I like to think of it as a personal hub. One of the things that comes up is, do you still need a website? And I'm going to tell you from my sort of thinking about it, you do. You do need a website, but it does not have to be difficult. It does not have to be fancy. You can literally go to like Squares. Can I say Squarespace today? There, I can. Squarespace, Wix, or I like using WordPress.org, which are free, and you only have to start paying when you want to like really start branding things. You can totally do this as a tiny thing. They have themes. They make it as simple as possible. You can drag and drop. Why do I think you still need a website? Because you don't own your social media. The companies that run social media companies own your social media. At any point in time, they can they can disappear. They can take your information. And we've seen that, you know, that's borne out over time. Vine, just literally within a week, went from being a very popular social media site to not existing anymore. TikTok is going through, it is the most violent site as far as will it exist tomorrow, in which countries? Is your stuff being stolen by Chinese rebranders? These are things to think about when you're making these choices. So when you have a website, that belongs to you. You own your content. And I do recommend that if you have content on Instagram or Facebook, every now and then download your stuff, put it on a hard drive. Don't expect it to be there on any given day. There's stuff going on right now with Facebook and Instagram. The US government wants Facebook to divest of Instagram. So will they belong to the same company next year? So these are things to think about. I also believe that Instagram was better when Facebook didn't own it, but that's a personal preference. But you know, think about these things. You don't want to have to remake the wheel from scratch after you've lost all your followers. Build yourself a communications map. Make your website your hub. Think about your email, and you're like, why do I have to think about my email? Please think about your email. On more than one occasion, I've had people with emails, sexybunny338, and that is not a professional email for an artist to be having, unless, you know, that's their work, but most of the time it is not. But also if you want to do email communications where you're using something like MailChimp or Constant Contact, you have to have an email address that goes with it. And it is really a good idea that you have your email address on your website. You might not want your phone number, but having an email address is a safe way to communicate with people who might want to commission you or buy something. Do a social media audit. You know, go and look at all the places you exist on the internet. Google yourself. Are you, what was it? I was on a writing app that I got a message from a friend that's like, you're still on this app, and they just had a security breach. So I went and took myself off. But these are the things you should be thinking of. Like, where do people see you? Do they see you? And are there things that perhaps you should take off? And are there things that, oh, I should maybe beef this up a little bit more? It's not current. So definitely when you're thinking about the information that you should include, you should, you know, and this has been covered in other things, you should be thinking about artist bio. You don't have to give everything away. This is your professional self. So I don't need to know your hobbies. You might want to keep things like children private. You might want to mention them, but you might not want to mention them by name. I know that that's come up for other people. But you know, really thinking about that image that you're crafting. So where should you be online? Oh, this is animated. I didn't even know. Fancy. Deciding on which social media channels to use and how many is important. It is really hard to be everywhere if it's just you. When do you make your artwork if all you're doing is posting? So please think about that. And I'm going to talk about numbers, but which is somewhat what it should be based on, is like, who is your audience and where are they living? But there's also a bit of it has to do with the medium as the message. So if you're making media artwork, YouTube makes a lot of sense. If you're doing very visual based things, Instagram makes a lot of sense. So just something to consider when you're thinking about that. There are also what I call related sites. So this is not necessarily a place where you're building community, but it sort of augments the community that you're building on social media. So that could be a place like Behance, which is owned by Adobe, and it's a portfolio site. Or it could be SoundCloud if you're a musician. Etsy is kind of a related site. It's not straight up social media, but it actually is, sometimes works hand in hand with your social media. Patreon is another great related site that feeds into that kind of relationship. And the great thing about Patreon is that you can actually be building a community that supports you in the old-fashioned Medici kind of way of having patrons. And you don't need that many patrons for that money to start being like a monthly income, or these people are supporting you in what you do. And I have quite a few friends that use that as one of their income sources. It's never, well, I shouldn't say that. For some people, I bet you it is the main income source, but for a lot of people, it's part of what they're doing. Skillshare might be another related site. If you are somebody who feels comfortable teaching, they pay their teachers, and it can be a nice little pie part of how you're generating income through social media. But you need to have the social media to be promoting the fact that you're teaching on Skillshare. So all of these things sort of work together. So when we think about numbers, and really when we're making choices, this is a very good thing to do. There are lots of sites that provide information online about who's looking where, and with the demographic information and why they're looking and how they're behaving. So the CIRA.ca is the Canadian Internet Regulator Authority, if I'm remembering correctly. They are the ones that manage the .ca domain, but they do a yearly annual audit of trends on the internet. Statcounter.com will show you on a week by week what web pages and browsers are accessing social media. So it can give you a very fluctuating sort of number. And then, Insights West is a consulting company, and I think Linquia is a social influence management site. So they all have tons of information. I love looking at these numbers. They're always fascinating to me. In Canada, Facebook is far and beyond everybody else. They are also worldwide, far and beyond everybody else. Everybody's on it, and you hear a lot like, that the millennials, they don't like it. 81% of millennials are on Facebook. So 86 Gen Xers, like these kind of numbers exist. I'm going from last year's, this is from 2019. Like these numbers are happening. And it's always interesting to see which sites are gaining traction and which are sort of maintaining, plateauing, going down. I remember everybody's like, you gotta be on Snapchat, you gotta be on Periscope. Well, Periscope's not even on the list anymore. Snapchat is sort of doing its thing, but it's not getting exceptional growth, you know, whereas Facebook's still getting growth. Instagram is the site that is getting the most growth as far as gaining new members across all demographics, but still it's way below Facebook. And even I think it's because it's it can sometimes be very niche to be on Instagram. Twitter is sort of maintaining, though you hear a lot in the news about people mass quitting Twitter over various things. Like journalists were all leaving Twitter for a while. A lot of writers were sort of, we don't want to be here anymore. I always find there is in Lethbridge, this is a Canada-wide statistic, but Pinterest has a real following in Lethbridge from a sort of Gen Xer married demographic of women. It's not my favorite site. I think it's too easy to steal your artwork off of it, so I don't tend to use it that often, but there are some hardcore users and they might be your demo. So it's worth looking into. And then sometimes, yes, you have to be in the big one, but finding that niche group that sort of has the same aesthetic that you do is kind of sometimes a stronger place to be. Here's social media usage by age. So here's those numbers I was talking about where you can see, you know, across demographic groups that Facebook is just trouncing everybody. And you can see that, you know, YouTube's going down with younger, but going up with older, which is hilarious because when I first started watching YouTube, it was a very young audience, and now it's higher. And I have to admit, like YouTube and Instagram are my two favorite places to be. I'm on the others because I have to for work. So once you've decided where you're going to live, the next thing you should be thinking about is posting. So what should I post? How often should I post? When should I post? When we do social media on our own, just for our personal usage, we don't tend to pay attention to when we post. We post whenever we have a brilliant thought that everybody should know about. That doesn't work when you're trying to be professional. You need to be thinking about the content that you're posting. And I really recommend that if you're looking to do selling specifically on social media, that it should be 1/3 selling and 2/3 other things. You can't constantly be saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, because people will tone it out. Then you're just an ad. And the thing about social media is that you're not just an ad. You are an artist who is creating amazing work that you want people to see and building a community that supports that work. As far as how often should you post, this is kind of one of those things you have to balance. Are you posting all the time and you're not getting any work made? Because that's not good. Are you posting too little so you're not developing the algorithms so that people are seeing it in their feed enough? Are you posting too much that people just put you on mute? These are, you know, and you're gonna, there's no right answer here. You gotta find that rhythm. And sometimes there'll be times where it's a lot and sometimes it isn't. What I would recommend is that you schedule it. And that way you can start measuring. And when you get a Facebook like page, I don't want you just to have like an account. I want you to get a page. I want you to have a professional business page on Instagram. I want you to move into that next level so that you can get the analytics. So you can go into the back end and say, hey, I posted this and I had this much engagement where people were actually commenting sharing, doing those kinds of things, or I just straight up had, you know, this many people see it go by in the feed. So once you have that professional page, you can then start scheduling your content. You can plan this. The image I have here is from Sprout Social, which is a manager app that you can use. We use Hootsuite here. I'm very fond of that one. I've used it for years. And like there are other ones. You find the one that works for you. There's no right answer. So, but and there's a lot in this calendar that I'm showing you. This is probably more than an individual would do. This is probably somebody with a social media manager and, you know, a staff. But think about like, okay, I'm gonna commit to posting, you know, 3 times a week on 2 different socials, and maybe, you know, balance that out. So one of the things you can do from Instagram is like you can post directly to Facebook. I'm going to challenge you to not do that. So like say, okay, today's my Instagram day. I'm going to post to Instagram. Then the next day, post something different to Facebook or, you know, to Twitter, so that you're, you know, you're changing it up. And here's the thing, I don't want you to go, okay, I've scheduled that I'm posting today. I want you to sit down, take a day, plan out a month's worth of posts. Go, okay, all right, I know what I'm doing. This, I'm going to be working on this for this craft show, so I can give how many peaks, you know, like sort of like teasers about what I'm going to be at this craft show or at this art opening. Or I'm going to, you know, one of my favorite things to watch is people putting color on their palette and taking a palette knife and just mixing it. There's something that's very yummy about watching that, and I will watch it for hours. But it doesn't have to be that complicated, the things that you're doing. So just think about all the things that you could put out and then plan it into a calendar. Have the pictures ready to go so that, you know, you don't wake up in the morning and go, oh God, I gotta post and I have no idea. That's not to say that you can't contribute at other times. Those sort of like, oh, there's a trend going on and I want to jump on that. But by having a consistent sort of posting schedule, people will know when to look for it. So content, you know, I've said that 1/3 selling, 2/3 other types of content. One of those, what could those things be? This is where you can have a lot of fun. We're artists, we're creative people. We want to build a network of people that are like-minded to us. So one of the things that I know works really well on social media is straight up friends. Like these are people who might do similar stuff, but not exactly the same kind of artwork that you do. But you're kind of, on YouTube they call it collabing. So it's like you're not only promoting your things, but you're promoting your friends' things. And an example of that on YouTube that worked really well in the past, they call them the Holy Trinity. They didn't call themselves that, others did. But I started watching My Drunk Kitchen with not Mamrie Hart, Hannah Hart, which then led me to Mamrie Hart, who's a comedian who also makes cocktails, which, you know, that's my content place of happiness. And then Grace Helbig. And the 3 were best friends, and they were constantly sharing each other's stuff and being on each other's channels. And I was so invested in their relationship and friendship that it didn't matter what they were sharing. And there's kind of a voyeuristic kind of thing about it, but this happens on Instagram as well. I belong to, well, I don't belong to it, but I follow a group of artists that make kind of witchy sort of based art that's very fat positive. And they talk about one another and they share their stuff. And then it's like, well, if I'm looking at this person's stuff, then I'm going to love this person's stuff. So build that network with people that you know, but also be building a community. So the people that are like posting on your stuff, that are commenting, that are always sending a like your way, these are people that you want to hang on to, develop. Maybe if you do develop a Patreon, like these are where you would want to move that community to be. And the thing is, it doesn't take that many true fans. I think Wired started the long tail, where if you have 1,000 true fans, it doesn't matter what you do or create, you will always be supported by your community. So it's worth investing in that. They are also human beings, so don't just treat them as people that are going to support you. And another thing that I love doing is hacking a hashtag. So I will find a hashtag that's hot, that's fun, and I will get on that hashtag train. And here's the thing, a lot of people think that you can't put hashtags on Facebook, but you totally can. And it actually makes it easier to search for things on Facebook. Instagram and Twitter tend to be much more hashtag focused at the beginning, but you can do it now across all. And I used to tell people, don't do it on Facebook, you look foolish. No, now it's a thing. So like a hashtag that I love is Inktober. And every year I try and every year I fail. So I'm going to do 31 ink drawings in the month of October and hashtag it with a theme, Inktober. And I get people looking at my stuff that I would never have imagined before. Now, I'm not necessarily hacking a hashtag for personal gain. I just keep trying to like complete a challenge. That is always my thing. Challenges are one of the best ways of, I think, getting content regularly and posting, but they can be exhausting. So there are, I picked this picture because there's unicorns on it, but so social media content that drives engagement. So it needs to be entertaining, it can be inspirational, it can be educational, it can be conversational. I love a good question, you know. You see the radio station use that one a lot. It could be a connection moment, so you're showing behind the scenes, or and the promotional one that's in the 6th, I would say that that's probably the least engaging for most people because it can kind of sound a little businessy, marketing wise. But sometimes you know, it's like, yeah, you have a product and you have to sell it and you shouldn't be ashamed. I'm gonna warn you off of too many contests or giveaways. I love a good contest or giveaway, but I will follow them, see if I win, and then unfollow them. And there's no sort of building of that relationship. So please keep that in mind, that it's like, if you're doing a lot of work and giving away a lot of stuff and you're not getting that feedback, that's why. Like I said, I love a challenge thing, and there are tons of examples of people who've just set themselves like, I'm going to once a day draw a lake, a logo for a lake. I saw this from a graphic designer. She got, I think she was going to do 1,000 likes from that area of the States. And she got like 33 in, and then she got hired by another company to do a whole bunch of other work. And she gave up the project because it did what it needed to do. If you follow the oatmeal, there's somebody who just started designing like a poster a week because he was unemployed, and he never got gainfully employed again because his posters and his web comics took off, and he now has his own games and books. And so sometimes those can be really interesting ways of getting content. I have a million stories of these because I'm fascinated by them. I love social media, but social media is also a dangerous place. You don't own your social media. And I know most of us, when we sign on to a social media site, we're given the EULA, which is the end user agreement, and none of us read it. We just hit accept, and then off we go. So, you know, an example of a dangerous kind of thing about that is that Flickr, which used to be a great photograph sharing site, was sold to Yahoo, and then they claimed that they owned all your photos, and then they were selling those photos, and you were not getting any credit for them. So it is worth it to read it. I know it's exhausting, but you don't have much legal recourse if Flickr decides to sell your photos. I have friends that have had images and content that has been stolen and repurposed on other sites. I have a designer friend, Cynthia Frenette, who designs pretty sweary designs. That's what they're called. They are swear words surrounded by flowers, She started this about 5 years ago, and now everybody rips her off. So, and literally on same site. So she has a social Society 6 account where she sells her designs on t-shirts and things. There will be other people on the same site claiming that those are their designs. Like, there's a lot of people who don't understand what's public. There are a lot of sites in Asia that totally just take the stuff and put it on t-shirts. It takes a lot of time, energy, and money to go after these people. You do, yeah, you can report. I recommend that you build a watermark, and you put that in the corner of your work. Anybody with Photoshop can get rid of it super easily, but it makes it one step harder. And hilariously, sometimes you see that they take it with the watermark and put it on another thing. Cat Coven was another place where you were seeing, like, all her designs were ripped off and put on Wish. Do reverse Google searches. So you can take an image of your content and you can go to the Google main page, and there's like a little camera icon. You click on that, you can upload a picture, and it will find all the other instances of that picture, and it at least allows you to track down stuff, and hopefully you can say, hey, stop using my stuff, cease and desist. Accounts can be hacked. There was a recent hacking on YouTube where Megan Ranks had her secondary YouTube account hacked and sold on the black market for 500 bucks. And it took 6 months and many famous people to get her account back because Google and YouTube didn't care. So look after the security. Make sure that your password isn't, 123 password. Change it regularly. Don't post it everywhere. Make sure that you're, looking after that. You could be canceled or hashtag over if you're not paying attention to what you're posting and what's going on. If you were just posting and sort of ignoring Black Lives Matter this summer, you were going to be dragged for it, and rightly so. So, knowing what's going on in the world, knowing sort of the bigger picture is important. And I'm going to recommend that you get a scheduler of some sort, but don't just set it and forget it. So there was a radio station in Toronto that had preset all their social media for a weekend music festival, and then the stage was horribly destroyed in a weather thing, and they were still like, come on down. And meanwhile, 6 people were dead. So that kind of, rubbed people the wrong way, as you would expect. And it's okay to schedule things, but be aware of what you're scheduling and what's going on. You can't be perfect all the time, but we can try to be better. So some tools that I like that I'm going to sort of recommend, and there are so many more than these. And perhaps if you have some that aren't listed here, go ahead and stick them in the chat box. It's good to share this information. And once again, everybody likes different programs. You find the ones that work well in your flow. Like I said, Hootsuite and Sprout Social are both allow you to manage multiple social media streams. I've used Hootsuite for many years. I like it when I was doing watch-alongs, because I could actually be, if you were using the hashtag and while we were doing things, I could follow what was going on better than being in the program itself, and I could respond to things a lot easier. I have Slack in here because I went to a conference and the woman said that Slack changed her life when she started using it to schedule. She just was using Post-it notes and had built this very fancy system. I go back and forth on Slack. That's, up to you if you like it or not. Canva, if you are not somebody that has the Adobe suite and the thought of editing pictures makes you kind of green, Canva is amazing. It is very easy to use. They have a free version. There's also, you can pay up and get a more fancy version. I have also used it on my phone, which you know, to do things kind of spur of the moment, where it's like, I'm nowhere near my computer for my fancy programs, but I was able to build something really quickly in Canva. Visco is a camera app. And one of the great things about Visco, especially in regards to Instagram, is that you can set up your grid. So if you want to do some fancy things where images are flowing across multiple posts, that's the way to do it. And it allows you, you know, there are some people that only post 6 things. That was a trend for a while. I don't like that. I like to see all my past stuff. I live in the past when we could all be together. But for those people that were doing this, or sort of 9 posts, this very curated thing, Visco allowed them to move things around and play with the composition. It also has a lot more camera things than your regular camera. A link tree or campsite's another one. This is because you can only have one link on Instagram. Having another app where you can have multiple links is super helpful. And it has, you can send people there, and it's super easy to use. I've got MailChimp and Constant Contact in here because one of the things you might want to think about is developing a newsletter. These are both easy. MailChimp especially is easy to use, and it allows you to directly communicate with people. I have some over here that are for slicing up video. There's not a lot of great video editing within these apps, like within Instagram or Facebook, but you can do it in these smaller apps and then bring it in. There are some that Keyhole allows you to do analytics, sort of demographic kind of sneaky stuff. So that's always kind of fun to play with. I've got Hemingway and Grammarly in here. If you do not spell well, if spelling and grammar makes you kind of ill, these are great programs to use, and they're free to start. I'm a big fan of that because I do believe that autocorrect has ruined my spelling. So the last thing I want to do is talk about some influencers, or I shouldn't say influencers, they're artists. And I think it's good to go look at what other people do, but I don't want you to compare yourselves. That's the worst thing you can do on social media is comparison. Everybody's at a different place. Everybody's doing different things. You have to find what works for you, but that doesn't mean you can't go, oh, that's an interesting thing that they're doing. I have Fran Meneses. She is a Chilean illustrator, currently living in New York, but she also lived in Germany, and she also lived in England, and she writes her own graphic novels, and she silk screens t-shirts and does a lot of things. She's my favorite thing to watch on a Saturday morning with a cup of tea. She's very calming. I call her calm YouTube. So it's usually like a 20-minute, this is my week. Here's me in my studio. Here's what I'm up to. Here's my adorable cats. That's important in any, you should get a pet right away. That really helps your social media standings. But she also just on Instagram posted the most personal series of sort of illustrations around her miscarriage. And I find that she has this beautiful balance between professional artist and personal. She has, her Instagram following is 355,000, but that has taken her years to get to. And she makes her living through her website and through Patreon. She is fascinating to watch, as well as an amazing illustrator. Shama Golden is an artist who makes amazing paintings, and then she animates them after she's finished. And so her Instagram is full of these sort of beautiful, moving images. I'm not always I love posting to Instagram stories. I have to admit, I don't watch a lot of other people's. I have a very small group that I watch because I only have so much time. And when you do an Instagram story, it only lasts for 24 hours. So if you're spending a ton of time posting there, you might be wasting time. You got to find that balance. But I did follow Shama, when she moved from New York to LA and then stopped in famous art places all along the way. And so I was intrigued and I was tuning in. And she has 31.8 thousand followers on Instagram. And I've picked all sorts of different numbers because you can be successful with just a couple of thousand. You don't have to have these giant numbers. Trevor Flanagan Torgman, I put him in here because he's a dancer and he's a TikToker. And he has 649,000 followers, and it's just him dancing. He's also an actor. He's on a couple of web series and things. He's a youngin'. He is the only person I have on here who does not have a website. And so that was really difficult because I couldn't caster. And she started on YouTube, she is on the most. So she's on Instagram, she's on YouTube, she's on Twitter, she's on Facebook, she's on Patreon, she's on TikTok, she's on iTunes, every podcast. She's everywhere. This is how she makes her living, as an influencer, and she started as a singer-songwriter. And now she's doing a lot more podcast kind of work. And she's, fat positive, and she likes to get political, and it's fascinating to watch because sometimes I think she goes over the line, but then it's like kind of like that about her. So someone to think about, like she's trying different things. She's like, I'm too old to be on TikTok. Now she's got quite a following on TikTok where she was just harmonizing with other artists who are singing. That's all she's doing. It's just a very simple, easy thing, but it's very watchable. I'm going to say her name wrong because I've just discovered this person's is a Dawn recommendation. Selene Garal. She has 16,000 followers on Instagram, but she posts musical scales and trills and practice things, and you can follow along with she's got like the music cut in. And they're challenges. It's like, can you as a clarinetist do this? And they're kind of, I'm not a clarinetist. Do I have interest in being a clarinetist? No, but I found her super watchable. It was super interesting and very, very niche. And I think that's the thing. If you can find your niche, if you can find your people that you're talking to, it doesn't matter. And then the last person I mentioned in here is Jillian Hyde. Her company is called Pip Robbins. She makes leather bags from Toronto that I cannot afford but drool over. But she also posts cats. Shocking that I would follow her. But she fosters cats for a Toronto charity. And so it's bags and cats. And, that's my kind of content. She has the smallest following at 6.2 thousand. Even if I had money to buy her bags, it's a 2-year wait list. And they're about $300 each. And when she has a shop update, she uses Etsy quite a bit and her own website, they sell out 15 minutes, they're gone. You gotta be on it. So during the pandemic lockdown in Toronto, she was making masks and she was doing it for free. And so she was really building her community and helping as best she could. And she had moved into a new studio and then couldn't go to her studio. So it was really, she was fascinating to watch. Her latest foster kitten just had 9 kittens. So I was on Kitten Watch on the weekend. Couldn't take my eyes off of Instagram. I was checking it every hour. Are they here? Are they here? So I know I'm not alone in these things. I know I'm a bit of a crazy woman, but I think cat content reigns supreme. So these are just some people that I'm suggesting, find other interesting artists, go into different disciplines, see what other people are doing and what makes you want to watch them again? Why are you invested in this? What makes it more than just their the Hudson Bay Company? Because that's the thing that's different with artists than corporations. We have this sort of interesting content and we're doing interesting things, and we really can engage with people. So that's my quickie, as fast as I can do it in 20 minutes. I don't know if I went over. I did. I knew it. But I'm going to pass you over to Tanya, who is going to, you know, as somebody who's in it and promoting herself, I don't do that because I'm promoting work and I have no energy to care about my own personal practice. I'm going to turn it over to Tanya.
Hey, how's it going? Hello? I guess it's not showing me. That's okay. Okay, so my name is Tanya, obviously. So can you guys hear me all right? Yeah, there we go. So I live in Lethbridge. I use Instagram a lot. I am not the be all end all. I only have some ideas. And the more research and the more studying and the more I do into stuff, I find that everybody has something you're going to take something from and find useful. And I think for me, when I was first getting into it, I found it so overwhelming. There's so much and you felt like, oh my gosh, I have to do everything. And you definitely don't have to do everything. And yeah, and man, you made so many great points. I was writing down notes. And I really like one thing, it's about finding your people and that 3 to 5 things that make you stand out. And I think that as much as we want to push our work and show our work, it's also about being personable, because let's be honest, like I'm a polymer clay artist. They are popping up like flowers, like dandelions at the moment, which is awesome. I like competition. But also you have to stand out in some way too, right? And if people are getting to know you, that changes things, because you know they kind of feel like they know you, they're kind of involved in your life. I'm not saying give them all your details, but it's good to be personable so they actually know you. So one thing I also really liked that was brought up before is I do have notes, so I'm gonna be looking over at them, is I know a lot of people have private accounts and I don't recommend that. I feel like having a business profile, like seriously, has changed the game for me just for analytics alone. And it was just talked about knowing when to post and stuff like that. If you're posting, guess what? You can go into your analytics. It'll show you your following, their age ranges, but it also tells you when they're actually looking at your stuff. Is it between 9 and 9? Is it between 3 to 7? Like, it will show you. So it kind of takes a lot of that guesswork, which is nice out. But for me also during this time, they have shop features, so you can like kind of highlight items. I mean, especially for me being jewelry. But they also have been like really promoting gift cards, and like they also had a hashtag for a while about shopping local. So if somebody could almost like tag you in it and almost kind of put you in a different like story feed about local shops to support, which is really cool. I think stories are so good to be using personally. I think I don't post a lot personally. I know when I first started out, I had the pressure. I was like, oh my God, I have to post every day or 2 to 3 times a day. And you're like, no. And the more I've learned, it's like figuring out what works best for you and doing that. So for me, I post 2 to 3 times a week. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't do it anymore. I like to keep it small, but on my stories, that's where I'm active. Because I feel like stories are like 15-second clips of life, right? And people love behind the scenes. They want to see the process. They want to see your failures, but they also want to see your wins. And I use it for hyping up collections, and that's what has really helped me, is like hyping up collections. And so people are seeing it before they're even allowed to buy it. And I'm not like, oh yeah, sure, you can buy it now. I'm like, nope, in 2 weeks you can buy it. And you keep kind of like letting them see snippets. I'm not telling them to buy. I'm just showing them something. And then guess what? When they're allowed to buy it, then they get excited and they want to buy it. So I do definitely use this for business. I do use Facebook a little bit. I totally agree. You have to have a website. You have to be pushing for email marketing, owning people's, it is owning people's email addresses with their permission. You're allowed to email them. And because Instagram could go tomorrow, Facebook could go tomorrow, but if you have people's email addresses or they have yours too, then you can still have that connection. It's so important, so important. Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't overuse it because I feel like people get annoyed too, but I think it's so important. Like, I'm always grabbing email addresses. Whenever there was a market before, I was giving away like a gift card every month just for people's email addresses, because I know that there's, it's very, very good. Was it the training I've done on it is like for every 1,000, email addresses you have, it's so many money in the bank. And you can actually track it and see like who's been using your promotional codes or who's opening your emails, stuff like that. I know it sounds really intrusive. It isn't. I know. They allowed it to. It's okay. But yeah, so stories and collaborations, I totally agree. Less collaborations and giveaways, the better. And if you are going to be doing a collaboration or giveaway, I think it's a good thing. But I know if we focus on these numbers, and I know I sometimes do it too, like, oh, I need so many followers. I need so many followers. You know what? You could have 50,000 fake followers, or you could have 500 really genuinely engaged followers who love the heck out of you, and you will make a living from it. But they have to be engaged people. So I know sometimes we kind of like look for numbers, but I think with giveaways, it's totally true. Like, so many people will follow you, and I've just finished. I should be like finishing right now doing a giveaway with a few other bakers. And I know I expect at least 25% of those people to unfollow me very quickly. And give and take, that's kind of what goes with it. You give, they will come and get it, but they will leave too. But I also have had some success with it, but I feel like I also am very choosy with who I'm doing it with. I don't do collaborations with anybody or everybody. I want them to have an engaged following. That means more to me than anything else. You go to somebody's page and they're like, look, I've got like 2,000 people, but they've got 0 comments on their posts. They've got nobody actually liking or engaging on it. They've got a dead following that nobody is actually interested in what they're doing. So I definitely go for engagement over anything in life. Engagement is king. And hashtags are good to find new people. My tip for hashtags is I don't go for big hashtags, because you got to think, in hashtags, the ones that are listed on the top are the ones that are getting the most engagement and are the most popular. So if you're getting new to this game and there's a million people that have put stuff into that hashtag, you're gonna be on the bottom. So I try to aim for 10 to 50,000 for there to be that much content in it, so then I have a chance of being seen. And when I do use hashtags, I do think they're important, but I also think about who I want to be in my circle, who my people are, what would they be actually searching. And like, I don't want just a whole bunch of other makers following me. I love makers, it's not about that. But if I had 300 polymer clay artists following me, that's great for a hype community. Like, they're going to hype you up, but they're not also your people that are going to be the ones supporting you, maybe for financially, maybe through Patreon, yes. But I feel like I'm looking for my people who want to love me and support me and like, are like, yeah, that's awesome. So yeah. Yeah, that is mainly thing I had. And I think like I do share tidbits of my life. I share that I'm like a mama, and we went to the river today. I totally had a posted a shot of the river just so people can see like what you're doing other than work. Because I think if it is just work based, it kind of gets really boring for a lot of people. And yeah, I sometimes plan. I usually don't. I'm one of those people. I probably should plan. I always think about like, I'm gonna plan this month. I've been saying that for 2 years. It has never happened. So I used to mainly use Facebook entirely. I am definitely more Instagram focused right now. I find if I do have people on Facebook, it's definitely a different crowd. So I think it's good to have that, because I do have some solid Facebook people on there. So I want them to feel, part of it instead of just Instagram. Instagram is kind of a cool, crazy place. I mean, it's making like Instagram stars, especially artists, in the last couple of years. And I think it's something that it doesn't feel easy, and it is work, but I think it's essential right now, especially being in the visual arts or anything visual. It's kind of something people are kind of going into, and they're wanting to spend money. Whereas Facebook, you have to have a page, have a business page, seriously. But I think they're more apt to spend and give you your money. Sounds so weird. It sounds like businessy, but on Instagram. Okay, sweetie, but I'm just cooking right now. Okay, in a minute. So yeah, I definitely think it's good to have it for a different, you know, market. But yeah, I definitely think that. Or anything in my notes I missed? People want to know you. And yeah, the posts, I mean, it's sometimes good to have a hard ask, like I do. And I say a hard ask for a post is like definitely having it more visual. I'm not asking for people's money, but on occasion I will announce, okay, my website is loaded today, or, you know, it's happening tomorrow. Because I think people, if you keep showing people all your beautiful items and then you never let them know that they can purchase it or that it's available, that you're losing money. Because if you don't ever tell people that you're selling something or that you have something to buy, they're not going to buy it either. They're going to go to the person who's saying, hey, come over here, I have something to buy too. So I think it's good. I know it sounds a lot crazy. That's a lot of information. All right. I think I said it all very quickly. Anybody have any questions?
Excellent. Thanks. That was a lot of really great information from both Colleen and Tanya. That was amazing. Does anyone have any questions? I don't see any in the Q&A. And Tara, I'm actually going to pass it over to you. If you can moderate the Q&A. I'm going to turn my mute.
And one thing too, if you ever have any questions and you don't think about it tonight, message me on Instagram. I'll get to you, or email me. Stories is definitely Instagram, and it's also Facebook definitely has them as well now. They kind of go from both platforms. Sorry, I'm just jumping in and taking this. But I know if I do have it set that if I share a story on Instagram, it definitely have it sent to my Facebook already. Posts, yeah, definitely put those up. You know, sorry, Elizabeth, see you later. Put those up manually, your posts to Facebook, but stories, yeah, I do just share them, but yeah, they are the 24 hours and then they expire.
Oh, I'm just gonna, sorry, you guys, I was on mute apparently. I'm just gonna pass you over to Colleen, who also wants to talk to the question.
So stories are on both Facebook and Instagram, but Instagram is apparently now going to have TikTok-like videos. Yep. They're adding that, and I don't know if you looked at your Instagram today, but my feed looks different and I hate them. How dare they change things? But I have very strong feelings about when they change the platform. But I'm concerned that the stories on Instagram are going to end up on Facebook, and then Instagram is going to be more TikTok. Instagram also has another thing called Instagram TV, so you can have longer videos. There are Instagram privileges the famous. So if you have 1,000 followers, you have more control over your account. If you have 10,000, you have even more. And I have concerns. I worry because Zuckerberg. So just know that. But usually the stories are the circles at the top of the page. And during Kitten Watch over the weekend, I taught my mom how to watch it so she could also be part of Kitten Watch.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? We just had that one question, and if not, I just want to thank everybody for joining. Just to let everybody know that we will be sending out a survey, get some feedback about what you thought about tonight, and also what you'd like to see from us in upcoming professional development series. Oh, Dawn is back, so I'm thrilled about that. But again, keep in mind that Arts Days is coming up. I would love to see a lot of applications coming my way. My email is project@artslethbridge.org. And yeah, and I'm going to pass it over to Dawn now.
Thanks everyone so much for coming. We have recorded the session. We will pull it off of the cloud tonight, and we'll be able to send out an email to all those who registered with a link. It'll also be posted to YouTube. So if you are interested, if you've got friends who couldn't make it to tonight's session, please feel free to share that link. And our next artwork session, Tara, did you say the date?
I didn't. What's the date, Dawn?
It's the first Thursday of September, so I believe it's September 3rd. We'll send out information on social media and in the e-newsletter. September is designated the month of the artist by the government of Alberta. We are partnering with the Arts and Culture branch with ATB, and we're just working out some final details with this session. But we think it might be really exciting, and we're happy to be able to work with them on that. So stay tuned for more details, and we'll see you on September 3rd.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tanya. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.